My background, I am a geographer and I have a master's and PhD in soil science. I previously worked back in Brazil, where I'm from, with soil survey, and then in my during grad school, I was focused more about soil formation and soil organic matter dynamics. And now in my postdoc, I'm looking at ways to determine the level of error in soil observations that affect ecological site identification in the Western United States. I'm going to be talking about availability of data, but the bottom line here is that we want to see what has influenced the ecological site identification, to what extent the soil observation affect ecological site identification. I mean, the level of error of these soil observations. So why should we care about soils? We know that soils provide a lot of functions that allows life on Earth. This figure here shows array of functions that soils provide, including the provision of food, fiber, and fuel. So to grow plants, soil provide nutrients and of course hold water that plants can uptake. Soils also has a very large organic carbon pool that also regulates climate. I'm not going to be talking about all these functions, but what I want to say is how these functions relate to my work. So here I have three triangles. The bottom triangle shows a set of soil properties. Soil properties are features that we can determine in a field and in a lab. So texture, percent of clay, bulk density, soil structure, and so on. And based on the soil properties, we can model soil processes, such as water holding capacity, infiltration rate, mineral organic associations. And this process actually allows the function that the soil provides. So let's say if you want to estimate infiltration rate, we'll probably need some information related with the texture, bulk density, soil structure, and organic matter content. And the infiltration rate and water holding capacity certainly will affect the water available for plants to grow. And okay, and what is soil about? What is the relationship between soil and ecological sites? We know that ecological sites are distinctive portions of land with specific type of soil and geomorphic characteristics that support also a specific type of plant communities and the amount of plants. So we use information of soil properties, so texture, class, clay content, rock fragment volume, but also we need geomorphic information, so elevation, slope aspect, landscape position, and based on this properties of landscape, whether soil, geomorphic, and the plants, we can figure out what kind of ecological sites we have. And why is important ecological site information is important that we can provide basis for us to quantify the response of land management and disturbance, whether a natural or a human disturbance. So soil is important. We know ecological sites are important to figure out land management practice, like what is the effect of the land management, and so we need information of soils and also the ecological sites. There are several institutions that provide this information and several programs. I'm focused on the assessment, inventory, monitoring strategy that is conducted by the BLM. The AIM strategy was launched in 2011. Since then, it's collecting information of soil, geomorphology, and vegetation in the field. And certainly AIM exists to enable this quantitative assessment of land management. This map here shows the location of the AIM plots where information was collected. Today, we have certainly more than 40,000 monitoring plots, and amount of this plots, 79% contain an ecological site that was identified, and 74% of the plots contain some sort of soil observations. The research questions behind my postdoc are, so what is the level of certainty in soil observations and ecological site identification in the AIM data sets? And to what extent do the uncertainties in soil observations affect ecological site identification? And lastly, how can we improve soil and geomorphology data collection in the AIM strategy? I gave this talk in a last staff meeting, so I decided to put a different slides, so otherwise it would be too boring for everyone. One way to at least to grasp an idea about what is the level of certainty in ecological site identification. The first thing that I did when I started my postdoc in June last year was to get this AIM plots and put in a map and see whether the MLRA where the plot is located matches with the MLRA that was identified by AIM crews based on the ecological site ID. So here we have the ecological site ID. Everyone probably is more familiar than me about the ecological site IDs, but ecological site ID is a sequence of letters and numbers. So here we have letter R, which states for rangeland, and then we have these numbers that we can trace back the MLRA of the ecological site concept. So ecological sites are, the concepts of ecological sites are developed for specific MLRAs. So in this case, the ecological site ID shows that the concept at least was developed for MLRA 27, which falls into the MLRA that falls in Nevada. So here we have a map of Nevada state. So based on this information of MLRA from location and observation, I plot this AIM plots, and the plots indicated with a star is where we don't have a match between location and observation. And it is interesting because most of this AIM plots are located dominantly in boundaries between MLRAs. So it brings back to the idea of maybe these ecosystems have like a more gradual transition, not a straight line that the map is showing. Here, this figure is just showing the confusion matrix that shows the MLA from plot location. So based on the GPS, pretty much. And the x-axis from plot observation that I trace back using the ecological site ID. So this squares with the indication here with a light green color, it's where we technically supposed to want to see more plots, and this is the case. And but also we certainly can use this information to see, oh well, those plots here within in a middle of MLRA, what is going on? Why this plot used ecological site concept from elsewhere? In terms of availability of soil observation in ecological site ID in AIM dataset, what we have is that since the beginning of the program, there is a pretty good evolution in an increase in data. Here in this graph, I'm showing the total of plots in the AIM dataset, the plots with soil data, and the plots with ecological site ID. So you see here in the beginning of the program, there were more plots with ecological site ID than plots with soil data. But as the strategy evolved, we see that there are more soil data than ecological site ID, which is a good sign. When you look at this information by state, we see that the states with more public lands, because this program is done in public lands, we see more plots in the case of Nevada, Montana, Oregon as well. And we see also in Nevada, there are more ecological site ID than soil data. Montana as well. But when you look at California, Colorado, we have a bunch of soil observations and not so much ecological site ID. In regard to geomorphology information in the AIM data set, I think that sometimes we overlook this information and the importance of this information to identify an ecological site, and focus too much in soil observations. But we cannot understand soils if we don't know the landscape where they occur. And here we have a block diagram that Sean Sally nicely led me to use. So this block diagram helps soil surveys to figure out where the soil occur across the landscape and draw map units. And we know that within a map unit, we can have several soil components. So slightly different types of soils that occur inside the same map units. And the soil components are directly connected to ecological sites. And in regard to landscape type in the AIM data set, this figure here on the right, I show the proportion of landscape type by each state. And we see here that at least what was observed, it's more, they visit sites with a landscape type that was characterized as a hill, a mountain, and a floodplain, a flat plain, sorry. And not so many places with alluvial fan. And then what was done in Nevada was a quality control activity or a task done by experts, not by me. I got this information from the experts from BLM. What they did was to verify whether the landscape type collected by the AIM data set, by AIM data collectors. So here on the left side of this figure, we have the landscape type that AIM crews ascribed in the field. On the right side of this graph, there are landscape type that the experts somehow modify based on the information provided. So we see here that a lot of flat plain and hill mountains change to alluvial fan. So this can have certainly implications of the certainty of ecological sites. So the question is, how can we improve alluvial fan identification, at least in Nevada state? So just to summarize what I'm doing in the next steps is to verify the ecological site ID from AIM plots against other data sets. So we know the ecological sites are identified by multiple institutions, and especially the NRCS. So using this data set from NRCS, we want to compare the ecological sites identified by the AIM crews. And to do that, I'm using the LandPKS algorithm to do this, to enhance this search. The other thing is to identify which soil observations, so texture class, clay content, rock fragment volume, the depth of the soil profile, which one is affecting the most ecological site identification in terms of what soil observations we have high uncertainties that influence the identification of ecological sites in the AIM data sets, of course. And lastly, I'm reviewing concepts and tools to improve the identification of landscape types, specifically alluvial fan, that we saw a need to improve that. And we can do that in trainings before AIM crews go to the field. So thanks for your attention. And this research is being done by several researchers, and the funding comes from BLM, the support from Jornada, USDA, and MSU. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.